Hi everybody, this video is to walk you through the syllabus and give you an overview of Canvas, which are especially important in an online class because so much of it is going to be independently run, right? You're going to have to be kind of accountable to showing up and doing the work each week. And I'm going to be as available as possible for you, so always feel free to email me or post something in the coffee shop so we can have a discussion around your question or your thought and make it as engaging as possible. But you do need to know how to use the syllabus and how to navigate through Canvas to plan effectively and complete your assignments and quizzes by the due dates. All right, and I want you to be as stress-free as possible, which is going to be a challenge since we're taking 16 weeks of coursework and condensing it down to just 12 weeks of a short-term course. So we've got a lot to unpack week after week, but if you know what's expected of you in each given week and what you have coming up ahead in the next week, what's going to be due, and you're always working ahead toward meeting those due dates, then you won't be putting a lot of work on yourself at the last minute, which is where it really gets stressful. So to do your best work and to be as stress-free as you possibly can in this course, use the syllabus to look ahead and plan ahead so that you are constantly working ahead. That's just my advice. Now, I'm going to use this video to go through Canvas very lightly. I just want you to see how to navigate through it, but there are a few things I want to kind of touch on, which are the first few modules here, especially focusing on the coffee shop so you know how to use that to your advantage, and then the research paper so you know what to expect here. This is a really important one that I don't want you to forget about as we launch into the course. If you can work ahead on anything, this is the one to work ahead on. And it's, in fact, really the only thing you can work ahead on because each week the modules will open up for that week because we all need to be going through the content at the same time to engage in our discussions effectively. And a lot of our assignments are going to be discussion based. So the one assignment you can work ahead on is this research paper, and I just want you to know what to expect for it, okay? So I'm going to spend a lot of time on this, brief amount of time on this. The rest of Canvas is just kind of showing you how it plays out, and then I'm going to go through the syllabus as quickly as I can as well. All right, let's start with the coffee shop. This is an online meeting place for you, where you and your peers can get together and discuss the content or assignments, basically collaborate, answer each other's questions, share thoughts and feedback. And if you have a question that is more of a general question about the content or an assignment, something that doesn't specifically pertain to your experience, but more so pertains to just, again, a general question about the content or the assignment, please post that here in the coffee shop, because often you'll find that your peers have some great ideas or great answers for you, and then I'll be checking in periodically to add my thoughts and my answers. And I've found that by answering one student's question, many students actually benefit from that information and from that exchange. So please use the coffee shop as often as possible. And you can use it to collaborate on other things, like coordinating a study group day at the library or at an actual physical coffee shop. But I want this to be a way that you can engage your peers more easily outside of our discussion assignments about more general things when it comes to this course. Okay, so that's the coffee shop. Let's go back to the home page. And this is where our modules are. First module after the coffee shop is our welcome module, where you can meet me. I'll give you a little bit of my backstory. This is the page where you find the video you're watching now. Here's the PDF of the syllabus, so please know where to access this at the very least, but download a copy so you have it saved on your phone or on your computer, or print a copy so you can make notes on it. We all have a different way of organizing our thoughts and planning. This is going to be key to the planning process. So whether it's an electric format and you plug everything into an electric calendar, or it's a physical format that you print up and make notes on, or keep a physical calendar, please use this to your advantage. This page has a video where I basically introduce you to this course and some of the themes that we'll be addressing, and then we're ready to get started. Now, I'll come right back to this research paper module, but I put it next because I want you to have it at the front of your mind as we launch into this course, because these dates will sneak up on you. I've scaffolded it so that you're chipping away at it in 3 steps, but these dates, again, will sneak up on you if you're not working ahead toward it and thinking about it constantly. So let me return to that in a moment. The rest of these modules, and again, like I said, we've got a lot to unpack week after week because we're combining weeks in some cases to fit 16 weeks of content into 12 weeks of this course. Each week will have its own module, and I'll have lectures in there, and I'll have some supporting videos. I'll have your assignments, most of which will be analyzing primary sources or sources that were created at or immediately around the time of the event being studied or period being studied. And then I'll have quizzes in here. Sometimes these quizzes will be a combination of 2 chapters. Sometimes they'll just be 1 chapter. But sometimes you'll have 2 quizzes in 1 week covering multiple chapters. So for example, week 2 is going to be a busy week because week 1 we kind of get warmed up. We kind of slowly launch into the pool, I guess, right? We're diving into the pool, but this is where we got to start swimming. All right, is week 2, because we're going to have our source analysis assignment and 2 quizzes covering 3 chapters of Eric Foner's Give Me Liberty. And then as we go through each week, you're going to see all of your assignments and quizzes posted in here. Again, use the syllabus and the course calendar to really help you plan out your weekly schedule, and knowing what to expect as far as assignments and quizzes go. All right, we're returning back to the research paper. Today, you should go into what to know about the research paper. This page walks you through the purpose of this assignment and how it's scaffolded in 3 steps, what those point values are, what those due dates are, and what is expected in each one of those steps. Please read through this and have a good understanding of how these 3 steps will lay out and what you're expected to accomplish in each of these steps. Okay, this is really important, so at least you have it in the front of your mind, right out of the gates, that this is something really important that you're going to need to start working towards as soon as possible. Now, I do want to mention something really quickly. Even though I've scaffolded this into 3 steps, and here are your due dates for each one, and you can see the point values get larger over each step, with step 3 being the largest point value. Even though that's the case, I don't want you to sleep on step 2. I feel like step 2 is probably the most important step in these 3, because if you don't do step 2, you can't be really all that effective in step 3, or at least I should say step 2 will help you be as effective as you possibly can in step 3. Because by step 2, you will need to have read every source that I've included for the topic that you will choose, more on that in a second, and have an understanding of the prompt, what you're expected to address in that paper, so that you can take good notes from each source as you read through them and as you analyze them and think about their viewpoints, think about their arguments and their evidence, right? All of the things that you're going to need to discuss in your paper. But you'll need to have read through every one of your sources and taken good notes for them and know how you're going to write your paper, what your paper is going to be about, where it's going to head. Because you'll have to write an introductory paragraph, which is going to tell me that you know where you're heading with this paper. Okay? And then you're going to have to include an outline of your notes, where each section covers hitting on the prompt of each source, right? So what were the main points of their argument, and what did they use as their evidence, or how did they support their viewpoint, and which ones agree with each other or disagree, and then ultimately which is the most effective. All right, to have all those notes in there for every one of your sources, I will know that you've effectively gone through all of your sources, and these outline sections will basically then just turn into paragraphs. So step 3 should effectively write itself if you've done the heavy lifting on step 2. All right? Okay, bear with me. We're going back into the research paper module, and I'm going to give you the nutshell version of how this works. So you will not have to pick a topic from random, like just out of the blue. You will pick one of the 3 topics I've given you. For example, you might pick, was the American Revolution conservative or radical? Views on the Mexican-American War and American conquest in the Southwest? Or who freed the slaves? Each of these topics comes with sources that I've included for you, meaning you don't have to do any research at the library or research online. You just have to research these sources, read them thoroughly, and take good, detailed analytical notes in order to answer the prompt for your topic. Okay, so I've given you the topic options and I've given you the sources for each of these topics. You will need to include analysis of every one of the sources I've given you, okay? But you won't need to find any additional sources outside of this module. So for example, let's say we choose who freed the slaves. All right, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to see here are the 5 sources that are included for this topic. All right, these are the different authors that present their viewpoints on who was responsible for freeing the slaves. All right. Now, in some cases, that might be Abraham Lincoln with the Emancipation Proclamation, or maybe Congress for passing the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery in the United States, or maybe it was the Union soldiers that defeated the Confederate Army, or maybe it was the slaves themselves who resisted their bondage. Okay, maybe it's a combination of those factors. But these authors offer different viewpoints to answer this question. Okay, and you're going to be analyzing how effective their viewpoints are, or their arguments are, based on the evidence that they produce, or how they support their argument or viewpoint. Okay, so if I've chosen topic 3, and I should try to choose this topic as quickly as possible. Okay, I look at those 3. Maybe I pop into each one of their instructions pages and look it over. But let's say I've chosen topic 3. Okay, good. I've at least taken care of that part. The next thing I need to do for step 1 is create a bibliographical entry for each one of these sources. Now you'll find I've given you all the information you need. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, but you still will need to format them correctly. You'll need to put this information in the right format and the right order using the Chicago style citation guide, which I've included a link to, so you can use an online reference. And that link you'll find in the step 1 page. Okay, but this is where you'll find that information to create your bibliography. And the other thing for step 1 is to create really short, succinct author biographies for each one of the authors of your sources. The purpose of this is to know who your author is. If we're going to spend time reading and analyzing their source, we might as well start off by knowing why we're doing it in the first place, right? Why are they even worth reading? Why are they considered an authoritative source on this topic? Okay, so I'm not interested in like they're married and they live in Connecticut and have 2 kids and a dog. Not that kind of biography. I just want 3 to 5 sentences. So like 5 sentences at the max that just tell me something about their discipline, about their area of expertise, about their professional life, where they work or where they teach, what else they've published, what else they've written, those types of things, so that I understand who this author is as a professional. Okay, so you need to do that for each one of these authors. But again, just 3 to 5 sentences of the most important information that you can find on them. Okay? And then know your prompt so that when you start reading these sources, and you should do that as soon as possible, you can take notes effectively as you dissect those sources and prepare to harvest information from them that you can use in your paper. Okay? So that will all work towards step 2. But that's how you go through these sources, or these topics, and then the sources. Start out by knowing what's expected in the research paper. Then move on to choosing one of your topics, okay, one of these topics, and then read the prompt thoroughly. You can start working on your bibliography and author biographies, and then as soon as possible, get into the sources and start taking good detailed notes. All right. If you work ahead on this, you will make life so much easier for yourself, and you'll probably do really well on it. And it's worth 100 points all told, right? Okay, so that is Canvas. Moving on, let's look at the syllabus. And again, I'm not going to go through this in great depth, but I do want to hit on some key points. Okay, I want you to look at these course objectives. These are the things that we want to accomplish through our work and through these modules throughout the duration of this course. All right, so you and I both need to commit to achieving these course objectives, all right, as we go through our instruction, as we go through our learning process. Now, the student learning outcomes are where we should end this course. When we walk away from this course, we should be able to demonstrate competency in each of these three areas. All right, number one, demonstrate factual knowledge of key political, economic, social, and cultural events and issues in the history of the United States to 1877. Okay, factual knowledge. All right, we will accomplish that primarily through our quizzes and through our midterm and final exams. Okay, but we're going to accumulate that factual knowledge through a variety of means, through our textbook, through our discussions, through our primary source analyses, through supplementary videos, right? We're going to accumulate that knowledge, but we're going to demonstrate that factual knowledge of those areas in U.S. history to 1877 through mainly our quizzes and our exams. Student learning outcome number two, evaluate, analyze, and interpret primary and secondary historical sources and make historical arguments based on these sources. This is what you're going to do week in and week out with our primary source analysis assignments. Okay, so you will be able to demonstrate competency in that student learning outcome by accomplishing your assignments week in and week out, and also by doing well on your research paper. All right, if you do well on your research paper, that is taking secondary historical sources or sources written by authors after the fact, right? Kind of like your textbook is. Your sources in your research paper are going to be secondary sources. All right, so that's really where you're going to demonstrate an ability to analyze and interpret a secondary source and make historical arguments using those sources. The primary sources will come more so through your week in and week out primary source analysis assignments. All right, and then finally, the student learning outcome number three is apply critical thinking, including causal analysis and skeptical inquiry to historical concepts and developments in the history of the United States. And again, we are going to be accomplishing that week in and week out through our source analysis assignments and through our one comprehensive written question on the final exam that causes you to think back over what we've learned and think about like causal analysis and cause and effect, really, when it comes to the experiences of certain groups of Americans throughout early U.S. history. Okay, and apply critical thinking to that information as well as you answer that question. So that is another place where you will demonstrate competency in SLO number 3. I won't go through these in great depth, but these are keys to success that I have included because I found both as a student, in my experience as a student, and as an instructor teaching students, that these keys to success work for just about everyone. Okay, so engage the class weekly through our discussion assignments, through the coffee shop, through emails to me whenever you need something. Plan effectively. Use that syllabus to know what's coming up week in and week out and plan and work toward it. Form a community. Help each other out. Meet up if you can, but if nowhere else, meet up in the coffee shop, ask questions, and share your thoughts. Read thoroughly. Make sure you are reading Eric Foner's Give Me Liberty Volume 1. Take good notes. There is a proven process that in transferring knowledge that we read or receive through other means into written notes or typed notes, there's a cognitive process there that helps us to learn and retain that knowledge. Also, get some extra help whenever you need it. There are some great resources that MJC offers, and I would highly encourage you to look into those resources and see if any apply to you. And if so, investigate them. Go talk to someone. If you need my help in looking at any of these services, I'd be glad to try to help at least partner you up with the right people so they can answer any of your questions. But they exist for a reason. You're not alone if you need some additional support. So please take advantage of it if it applies to you. Here you see some coursework expectations, but let's jump into, and one of the most important, by the way, is around our academic honesty policy. So please avoid plagiarism at all costs. If you use any online source or written source or even your peers' work in a collaborative effort and pass it off as your own without giving proper citations, that is considered plagiarism. I want your work to be your work. Here's how MJC defines plagiarism. It's the deliberate adoption or reproduction of ideas, words, or statements of another person's as one's own without acknowledgement. This includes all group work and written assignments. Plagiarism is not limited to word-for-word copying. I find students often think if I just change this word or that word by using a thesaurus, all of a sudden now it's not plagiarism. That's not true. If you're borrowing ideas, even if you're changing the words around, but you're not giving proper acknowledgement, that is considered plagiarism. So please produce your own work so that it doesn't hurt you as far as your academic status, because plagiarism can result in being dropped from a course and being placed on academic probation. It's much better to just produce your own work. I guarantee you have some great thoughts and analysis to add. And if you put it in your own words, then you will be graded as such, and you will give yourself the opportunity to pass this class and succeed with the grade that you are aiming for. Here's the breakdown of points and how those points will break down into percentages for this class. So have a grade goal for yourself and work toward that week after week. And then here is one of the most important places I can point you toward in your syllabus. It is your week by week schedule, so that you know in week 3 during these dates, here's what chapter we're covering and here's what I need to be doing. Okay. At the end, I'll usually include what chapters to read for the following week. So here you see in week 3, we're going to be covering chapter 4. We're going to have a quiz on chapter 4 on this date or by that date. We're going to have a discussion post and then a response to one of our peers. There's the dates there. Here's where step 1 of our research paper is due. And then I need to read chapter 5 and chapter 6 for the following week, because you'll see in week 4, we're covering chapters 5 and chapter 6, and we have a quiz on them. So you'll see how that plays out. But this is what you will use to plan effectively and create a calendar that works for you. Okay, so week by week, this goes through everything that you need to know. All right, that is our syllabus. If you have any questions, general questions, please post it in the coffee shop. I'd be happy to answer them there. Otherwise, get started on week 1. Week 1, again, is kind of us diving into the water before we start swimming. But we still have some stuff to accomplish here, including our first primary source analysis assignment. We have a meet and greet where you get to know a few of your peers and share some things about you and hear some things about them, basically form some early connections. And then you'll have an introductory survey where you'll get to share a little bit more with me about your approach to this course, maybe what some of your goals are. Share as much or as little as you want, just as long as you're honest in it is all that I ask. It helps me support you better when I know what your goals are. And it also gives me a chance to get your, your agreement and your commitment to our academic honesty policy when it comes to plagiarism, and just kind of your commitment to the effort you'll put forth in this course. So get that stuff all taken care of this week, and then week 2 we'll really ramp it up. We just have to. We have to get after it early and often. So we're going to be covering chapters 1 through 3 in quizzes and have another assignment. So please already start reading your textbook. Eric Foner's Give Me Liberty, Volume 1, Siegel, 5th or 6th edition. Technically, 6th is the most recent, but the 5th would totally suffice, and you can get that through the bookstore or Amazon or other online booksellers as well. Again, if you have any questions, please post it in the coffee shop, and please always feel free to email me as well. I am here to support you and help you in every way that I can. Let's have a great semester.